EVMUX consistently finds ways to bridge experiences for beginner, intermediate, and advanced streamers. They've added 5 features that continue that tradition. First, we can now export scenes. Ever wanted to move a scene from studio to studio or share a design with a friend? Now we can. Second and third, in their marketplace app, they've added RSS feeds as a ticker along with an advanced scrolling widget, which is better than banners, but you have to see it to believe it. Fourth, in Pro Scenes, we get to choose our camera shapes, circle, rectangle, or square, and even round the corners if we so desire. Fifth and final, we now have an option to add a dynamic grid in Pro Scenes, basically adding all the familiarity and flexibility of dynamic or StreamYard layout. That may seem counterintuitive, but it's actually genius. Opens up a ton of options and again, allows us to ease into Pro Scenes at our own pace. I'll share examples of all these 5 features, how to use them, and which one you should start using today in the full video. So here we are in EVMUX, and we are looking at actually one of the first features that I wanted to showcase, which is rounded shapes. Rounded or shapes, I guess camera shapes, right? So we have 3 cameras on screen, my VTS shot, which is the wide shot right here. And we have my top-down shot, which is the tall shot, or I guess square shot, more like an Instagram size. And then my main camera shot, which is a circle. And simply put, you would just go to add new layer, add a camera to the scene, and you can do that by going here, or you can do that by simply adding one of your cameras to the screen, or clicking on add camera and add an additional camera to your studio, and then you have the ability to add that to the screen. You can see I have camera 1, 2, and 3 here. Once you have it added and you select it, whichever layer you select, you can see the options for that layer come up. But let's say I'm going to make some changes to my main camera. I select it. You can see that those options come up on screen here, and there's a menu item that comes up and you can select shapes. And so I've simply just selected circle, but I could select squircle, which is basically a square that has rounded edges. Or you can select a regular square. You can select the wide version with rounded corners, or you can select the wide version as it is. And once you have the size or the shape that you want, you can move it around to have it be in whatever way you'd like it to be. So this is really clutch. Different scenarios and situations, even in the scene that you're looking at right now, I like to use shapes, my circle shape, especially when I'm teaching. So this could be used in that same scenario, and then just have a screen share. So that's feature number 1, camera shapes. Pretty dope. Let me know in the comments how you're going to use it. Feature number 2 that I want to touch on is the dynamic grid in Pro Scenes. Now, if we go back to the regular dynamic scene, which is what I've just gone to up here, you can see that this is what the dynamic scene looks like. You have the ability to kind of change your sizes to make it. Again, it's dynamic, meaning you have all of these things here. This is what most of us are used to from the other streaming platforms like Restream or even StreamYard. And so you have this. This is, again, very comfortable for most of us. And as you transition, many of you are going to actually start with a dynamic grid or dynamic scene. But then you also have Pro Scenes. And in Pro Scenes, I can actually select a dynamic grid. And so all I've done in this scene is added a new layer, and I select dynamic grid. And they even have a little blurb here that says it's new, and it reads, mimicking the dynamic scene by allowing the addition of feeds such as guests to designed areas. And one of the things I'll say here, just as a point of clarification for those who are trying to figure out what is the benefit of having this in a pro scene. One of the things you always have to do with your dynamic scenes is you always have to add things. You may add a overlay, you may add play a video, but it isn't intuitive, meaning you have to do it. You have to do all these clicks in order to make it happen. Let's go to the dynamic scene here for just a second. If I want to show this overlay, I gotta go to the overlay. I've got to click to show the overlay, right? Show it. And when I'm ready to take off that overlay, I've got to take off that overlay. Whereas if I'm in a dynamic scene, I have this grid. If I want to go to another scene, I just click to go to another scene. If I want to go back to that grid, I click to go back to the grid. I don't have to click to add an overlay. I can just click the next scene. And if you really want to get wild, you can go into your settings, go to hotkeys, and you can play next scene, play previous scene. And a lot of people have been asking me to do some things on hotkeys. Let me know in the comment section if you'd like me to show you a full tutorial on that. But I just have it set to Control-Shift-N, Control-Shift-P, which I've added to my Stream Deck. And now that I have that on my Stream Deck, you can see that right here. I can just click previous and next, and that will allow me to be able to go between my scenes very easily. So there, I'm just moving between the scenes just by clicking the Stream Deck. And so you would have a much smoother production. It's a lot easier if you're a self-supported streamer. If you host your own shows and you have guests, it allows you this different workflow that is going to be smoother for you, but also a much more seamless experience for your viewers. So in the dynamic grid, if I click it here, you can see some of the options come up at the top. You can have it fit to the maximum size of the layout, or you can actually have it be smaller, so you don't have to have it be maximum size, which is pretty cool. And if we do this, if I take this one over to here, you can see that that moves. I can actually do a top, center, bottom. There's some options here in terms of moving them around. You can put it to the right, and then allows you to have some things, add some other things there. Again, you can move this here, move that there. I'm going to unlock that. That allows me to make it different sizes. I can actually change it to fill. So now I have it kind of cropped in. You have a lot of options. Essentially, you have a lot of options to be able to do as you please with the grid. And it really does change how it all sets it up. It gives you a lot of opportunity to have that dynamic grid that we're used to from, as you got started streaming, and then now you have that in a pro scene. You can set it the way you want it. It's simple. You can remove one from the scene, remove another from the scene, and it just expands and grows with you. You can add that back, and again, if you want to make changes to it, you have the option to do that. And that, to me, is going to be a game changer for many of us, especially as we transition. What does it look like to move from dynamic scenes into pro scenes? For many, you want to take the training wheels off, but you want to do it slow. Well, this is one of those transition points. And I think this is something EVMUX does a really good job at, that you can be able to check out pro scenes without having to deal with all of the things that come with pro scenes. You'd have to build it out from scratch. You now have the dynamic scene here, and maybe you want to add an overlay. Maybe you want to add a background. Let me remove this one real quick. I'll push this up some, and then I can even add, let's say I add a new layer here. Let's go to my media files. And I know I had one here. Here's one. So add this, and I can just move this into place. Again, you can't do that. You can't design it that way in a dynamic scene, but you can do this in a pro scene. So that's feature number 2. Feature number 3, I want to talk about the RSS ticker. All right. So you can go here to add new layer, and you go into apps and widgets right here. Click on that. And this, you have here the RSS ticker, and I'm going to click that, and I'm going to click add to scene. Before I click add to scene, enhance your live stream with EVMUX new customizable RSS feed ticker widget. This dynamic tool lets you display real-time news, updates, or any RSS feed directly on your stream, creating an engaging and professional look. With full customization options, you can tailor the ticker's appearance from fonts to colors to animations, everything. Keep your audience informed and entertained while live content updates effortlessly integrated into your EVMUX setup. So we click add to scene. And when I do that, it's going to take me into the settings section. All right. So this is the settings section. I want to make sure you pay attention here. I can select from popular feeds here. Select from popular feeds. I can select New York Times. These are all built in. Top stories, Fox, CNN headlines, Fox Sports, Market Watch, Yahoo Finance, CNBC, The Economist. There's a lot of options and functionality here. And these are predefined feeds, but you also have the opportunity to just grab a RSS URL. So if you have your news RSS feed already set up and designed, and you have that RSS URL, you can drop your own custom into this spot and you'll be good to go. You can see that this has now come onto the screen, and I'm using the New York Times feed. So that's the New York Times World News ticker, and that's the information that's scrolling across the bottom. So really dope. And again, I'm going to go ahead and here turn off this one. We're going to turn off this one. I'm going to turn on the one that I pre-built and add back this other camera to the screen. We might have to pull this down some, but the idea being that we now have a RSS feed ticker on the screen that I have fully designed. And again, now that I have it here, I can just double click it and it'll give me all of the different settings that I've selected. I've changed the font, I've changed the size, I've told it what interval to poll at, I've given it a speed setting. I can reverse the scrolling. I can show titles only so that it's not so much text. But then you can also change the background color, the text color. You can change the border width, the border color, right? You can change the spacing between the different news items. So this has a lot of granular control that it affords you to be able to set it up in a way that actually mirrors your brand, mirrors what you're looking for. The other thing that they've added is the scrolling ticker. And I know that, for banners, right? I'm going to just click on banners here, and you have this banners here. And if I click show banner, I've designed this to be a ticker. So it has some text in there. I have up to 1,000 characters. I have it selected here to be a ticker. And so the question might be, why would I want to do a layer? Why can't I just do a banner instead of doing the ticker that they give us in the app marketplace? Because you have to physically go over here and actually turn on this banner, and then you have to turn it back off. Again, these are the manual things that make production a little bit harder. And so what we can do is go to add new layer, go to apps and widgets again. And in here, we have this one called scrolling text. When we click it, EVMUX scrolling text widget enables users to display continuously moving text across their live stream, ideal for announcements, updates, or even a news ticker. Fully customizable in terms of font, speed, color, background, seamlessly enhances engagement. And what that means is, we click add to scene, and what that means is I can actually have this already set. So again, if I go to the previous scene, there you see the news ticker from New York Times. If I go back to the scene I was just in, without having to click anything, I'm now able to have the text that I have typed, right? I have typed this text, and then all I did was put my intro verbiage here, but I have typed this text. If I double click it, you can see EVMUX. This is text that I have pasted in here. This is not from a news feature or whatever. I've selected my own font, my own size, my speed. I can reverse this scroll. and it's already there. I want to be clear on this, y'all. The benefit is that I don't have to click it to open it. It's already available. It's already set up and designed for me. And as I go through my scenes, I have the ability to just kind of, with just my hands, be able to, for hands-free, I should say, be able to go through these and showcase what I have in each one of these scenes, and not necessarily have to click to add, okay, oh man, now I want to have the banner. Instead of having to click to add the banner, I can just rather click on my Stream Deck or do the hotkey, because in many of these cases you have the hotkey. So a Control Shift N for me is what the hotkey is to go to the next scene. So I can actually just do that instead of hitting the Stream Deck if you don't have one. But the idea is, without having to do a number of clicks, show the overlay, hide the overlay, show the banner or the ticker, and then hide the banner or the ticker. Without having to do that, I can actually add it into a pro scene and have those things automated for me. The last feature I want to share here is the ability to export and import scenes. You can just simply go to any one of these scenes. All right, so this one here, if I click on the scene itself in the pro scenes, you have 3 dots, and when you click that, you have a number of options: rename, duplicate, stinger, transition. That's a good one if you haven't used it. That isn't new, that's why I'm not touching on it right now. Background color, and then share scene. When I click on share scene, it gives me this identifier. I can copy that and paste it somewhere else, send it to a friend, or go into a different studio and actually bring that scene in, which is what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna go into the midweek huddle, and that's gonna take a second to be able to make that change. Here we go, entering the studio. And in this midweek huddle, I don't have a lot of scenes already designed, and we will hit the plus sign to add scene, and you click on import, paste your identifier, and then just click on import. Now it's going to go. And again, this is exactly the way that I designed it in my other studio, but this would also work in the same way if you were going to share it with a friend, which is pretty clutch if you ask me. EVMUX is a great platform, but it has its own way of doing things, which may seem somewhat backward or somewhat awkward if you're coming from another service, like say StreamYard. They are customer focused, EVMUX is, reasonably priced, and they offer some cutting edge functionality as demonstrated in today's video. But in this video right here, I walk through the process of transition from StreamYard to EVMUX, showing screen by screen comparisons for smooth adoption. Click right here to watch, and I'll see you over there. Grace and peace, fam.